Welcome to Custom Home Builder Solutions, also known as CHS, a job costing, full accounting, and profit management software for the professional home builder. In this video, I have clicked right now the Accounting Financials button so I could see the menu for things for accounting. And I am going to talk about the powerful features in CHS for searching through your entire accounting database and producing general ledgers in various different ways. I have put things into CHS because my background is in accounting, my degree is in accounting. I've put search features and all sorts of ledgers that I wished I had while I was also dealing with job costing, and I'll demonstrate some of all of that and the powerful features for searching your accounting database. First of all, the accounting database is a big list of all records that have affected accounts on your chart of accounts, all records posted to accounting. When you do like job budgets, etc., those are not posted to accounting. Those are not accounting records. But accounting records are ones that come from entering bills to pay, accounts payable type bills, entering deposits to your cash account, printing checks from your cash account, posting adjusting journal entries or payroll entries, or various things like that that affect where you're selecting a GL account from your chart of accounts and posting the record. Quite often in accounting, we refer to looking at ledgers of your accounting records as general ledgers. That's what that term is for. Just means a general ledger of all your accounts and the detail of all the records in each account so that you can figure out where a balance came from, maybe in that account on your balance sheet or on your income statement or on a trial balance, etc. So first of all, before I go to the general ledgers, let's say you're just looking for a ledger of things for things paid out of accounts payable, etc. You don't really need to go to the big accounting database. There's ledgers here, all payables transactions, things that were posted as bills. You can search by vendor and do vendor ledgers. So these are all grouped by vendor, the people that you've paid, or posted as to pay, accounts payable entries. Or if you go to deposits and you open the deposits thing, you'll see ledgers of monies that you posted to deposit. Or if you go to the payroll area, you'll see that you can get ledgers of things just posted to payroll, etc. So, and that would be, a lot of times it can be by employee, etc. The deposits will be by who paid you the deposit or what cash account you posted it to. And also, you're speaking of cash account, you can get ledgers of things posted to various cash accounts right here. So you don't, if you're just looking for something that has to do with accounts payable, you probably want to go to vendor ledgers and get your ledgers that are grouped by vendors. If you're over here in accounting and you're doing general ledgers, most all of the reports will be grouped by the general ledger account number because you're looking at that account number to analyze it, not maybe just one vendor or something. So let's go ahead and click the button for the accounting database general ledgers. And we're going to get a menu first here. And for getting your ledgers, first of all, it says there are two ways to open an accounting transactions database for review. One is that you can open the full accounting transaction database with all kinds of search features, and we're going to talk about that quite a bit in this video. The other is a quick search for just some common things that people search for, and I'm not really going to open that so much because it's the same database that might open here in option 2, but based on a certain search. If I click the button up here, you'll notice that there's a min GL date and a max GL date. This means this is the lowest date found in your whole accounting database and the latest date found in your whole accounting database. And if you're just wanting to find, say, all records for one job and you don't want to narrow it down to some range of dates, you can click to use the min max GL dates. And that means that if I say I want to see all records just for one vendor, for one particular GL account, it'll give me all of those. A lot of times people are looking at maybe their direct construction costs, which is where they're posting their job costs. And so if I open this quick search one, I will get all the records posted to that account for the entire time period, and I can see the total of that account. I can see that there's 195 records, and it says 100 records are loaded at a time, so I can scroll down and I can see all the records if I wanted to review them this way. Quite often, you probably just prefer to go print yourself a regular general ledger of those transactions, which can be sent to Excel if you're wanting to do some intense analysis of something, and exported to PDF for better page headers. It first opens all the reports that we'll talk about in this video will first open as what's called an HTML web report. It's really just almost sort of a web page. It's not truly a report that honors page breaks, etc. You'll notice down here you'll see page 0 of 0, which doesn't make any sense. And it's just one long stream because it doesn't recognize that there's pages here. But if you export to PDF all of these various reports, and we won't spend a lot of time doing that, I'll just show you the basics of that. And if I make that bigger, you can see that it says there's 5 pages. And so as I scroll down, it'll break pages, and then it'll have some headers again for me. And it's also showing page 2 of 5 now. It can recognize that there's pages, etc. once you get to PDF. But the reason, like I said, we open it in HTML first is that you can export whatever records you've searched for to Excel. Now Microsoft takes over and it does things like the date is weird for how it decides to display things. So I just clicked on that column. I said format cell, date, and I kind of like month, day, and year. So then that's a little easier to see. But then you could do whatever you like with your Excel skills that you might have, with this various data. And you'll be able to produce all kinds of general ledger reports that you need to export if you're needing to do some special analysis of things. I'm not going to save that. But I wanted to go over that real quickly since we are talking about general ledgers. We'll come back to the various type of ledgers from the big accounting database. So I'm not going to do anything more here. You could see that you could just say I want certain vendors, people we paid, or certain jobs or things like that. But let's use the great big accounting database because there's so many more search features there that I want to go over in this particular video so that you can see all the ways you can search for and do things and find things. First of all, like I mentioned previously, when I opened the quick search, it shows how many records are found. So this is all the records. I mean, as you grow in CHS, you probably have way many thousands and thousands and thousands of records. And you'll see how many records, and that only 100 were loaded at a time. So you wouldn't want to keep having to scroll down, and then if you get to the bottom, you'll see a whirly thing, and it's loading 100 more records for you. And then scroll down again, etc. You probably want to do a search because if you open your big accounting database, you're probably only interested in certain things. So that's what that's about. If we told it to load and you had like 75,000 records and they all loaded to your browser, it would take quite a long time because it has to paint all those into your browser. So that's why we just load 100 at a time so you can get this open and then start doing your search for things that you do need. Also notice that these various things, if you look here, there's something called a journal, which will give you a clue as to where this came from. In other words, this is our cash operating checking. And if you click on the journal, you'll basically get a little report that shows everything related to that. Here's this record that we clicked on, which is an amount in the cash operating, but I can also see the other side of that entry. And CHS is based, as most all accounting books are, on the double entry method of accounting, so that when this deposit was posted, there was another side. This was a debit because it's a positive amount, and a credit to general liability insurance rebate, some money we got back. that kind of thing. So this basically shows you your little journal entry batch by drilling down, so you can see all sides of what was related to that in your accounting records, into that particular entry. If let's just do a search for, just real quickly, for everything in our, I don't know, let me think for a second. Maybe the 1430 account. Let's just look at that for a second. That's the direct construction costs, where so many of all your job costs are often posted by builders. But notice how most all the entries here, because they're job costs, came from what's called the AP journal, and that means accounts payable, actually. And so if I drill down on it, I can see that one side went to direct construction costs, 250, that's the one we looked at. And actually this was a prior period entry, that's not a good example, it goes in and out. Let's get on down to some real entries and look at that one. You can see how when you posted an accounts payable bill to this vendor, Texas Disposal or whoever it is, for this amount, CHS behind the scenes posted an entry to accounts payable trade, and it has words that it created, and it posted a credit which increased your accounts payable trade at the time you posted that entry. So you can see how all of that is double entry accounting. By the way, if you hover over some of these, like the vendor, you can see that's Texas Disposal Systems. If you hover over the job, you can see the address and the name. If you hover over a cost code, you can see what that cost code is for. So that kind of helps out. You can also see the name of this account even though it's at the top of the grouping. The other thing is, let's do the search and let's clear all of our search fields. Since it's double entry accounting, you would hope that it has all the debits and credits causing things to total to zero. And I'd like to pause for a minute while I talk about dates. When I have to do videos, etc., with accounting data, I have to rely on some data, actually, a lot of times that some builder might have given me. But I'm not really a home builder myself, so I don't have data that has like just tons and tons and tons of records, and I don't really want to create all that data. So I have this one company called Fantastic Builders that in the year 2002 or 3, somewhere in there, a builder did let me have their books, and then I changed names to protect people and changed jobs, etc., so that you can't really tell who that was way back. But all of those are, most of the records are in the year 2002 or 2003, way back. So that's why you'll see me using those dates here. I don't want to just make a bunch of thousands of records every year because I want to take care of the CHS software. So let's just say we do a GL date from January 1st to January 31st. That's the entry date, not the paid date necessarily, but we're just doing the GL entry date in our ledger. We would hope that a ledger for 1 month, if I submit the search, would actually, if I ran the report, a general ledger report for that month would total to zero. You'll see as I scroll down it changing GL accounts here. It's all the records for that month, and it's showing how the total of those records in that month that I searched for. It shows me how many records. So if I do a report in just a regular general ledger of transactions for the month of January, I would hope that if I come down to the big grand total, that it totals to zero. Now if I narrowed my search down to say one vendor or one job, etc., it may not total to zero because then it'll just be based on a search that doesn't have all the records for that time period. But if your books are in balance, this shows you how the goal in accounting is to have debits and credits that actually total to zero. So that's that point on that. Now let's do a few things, some neat searches that we might want to do. I did one for dates, but let's go ahead and go back to the search, and let's clear this to be sure that whatever I put in doesn't have it. But let's look at that. Let's just say we're looking at our 1430 account for direct construction costs, which is a work in progress account that builders on a completed contract method of accounting or percentage of completion are often using to post their job costs. And let's just search for that for just a minute, because I want to show you some various ledgers that you can get for one account. So we just searched for all the entries that have been posted to direct construction costs, and they may have, if you start looking down here, most all these are, notice this job code thing, but there's another job, a test that we did. Our main job that we were doing in all our demos is this H11 River job, but you can see this. And you might wonder about a job code of H and study on that and figure out whether you really want it in work in progress, because H is our generic job, which is usually for overhead things. In this case, this was two Donze architects, and maybe this wasn't a job, but they still just let it go to 1430. I'm thinking, just looking at that, and you could search this for just the job H to see if you accidentally got some records for job H in, and then get some tips by clicking the edit button. It's just going to tell you what kind of entry this is and where you should go, things you can do, etc., to edit that entry. You might want to, or you might just want to make some other entry, a journal entry, to get this H1 out of here. But I could have done a search for just the H job. But right now I want to talk about the reports that we could do that might be interesting if you just maybe asked for your work in progress. There is a general ledger report over here, grouped by the GL number and then by job. So you can see, let's get back here to the top, that first of all there's a demo job we just made one little entry to in the 1430 account. Then here's that H job that I said you probably wouldn't want H job entries here in this work in progress account. You can see these two went in and out, these two went in and out, these two went in and out. So the only entry that's causing some balance in your work in progress account is this one that I'm thinking you should track down and maybe change it so that it's not in the 1430 account. Then here's our big job that we've really been working on in this demo, this H11 River, and it's grouped by that, etc. So you can see how much is in this particular account for each job this way, which I think is a nicer way to look at some account that's just related to maybe job costs or something. So let's close that. You can see that one. And then, or you might be interested in having those grouped. Let's just go ask for one job now in our search, just because. And let's look at our big job. So we're leaving the 1430 account here in our search and the H11 River. And by the way, if it's up here on no selection and you just start typing real fast, it'll move. I just typed H11 and it moved to that. So if you have a big long list of jobs, you might want to put it on no selection and just start typing. So let's do submit search for just that job and that GL account. You can see we have less records now, but let's look at a few more of our reports. We did the by GL then job, then you might want to group by GL and then cost code, which is, framing, plumbing, labor, and you'll need to watch other things about cost codes. But you can see how this is the 1430 direct construction cost code, and it's showing everything posted. And we know that we searched for H11 River. You'll notice up here it says based on filters shown on last page, these ledgers. Down here you'll see a filter area. Job equals H11 River, the GL number equals 1430. But you can see how in the 1430 account for H11 River, we're seeing everything grouped by cost code now in that GL account, which you could probably tie a lot of that to actual job cost reports. That's another ledger you can get, and I'm going to talk about that here in a minute. You can see a cost code of 0, which won't be on job cost reports. These all have to do with entering balance forwards when you came into CHS, which I won't get into right now. The other thing is that you could also group that ledger by GL and then vendor, who you paid. So that's another neat way to have them. There's audio, video, Austin Star Roofing. I think we had seen Donzi Architects. So it's showing and grouped by vendor all for that job and for just the 1430 account if you're wanting to analyze it like that. So those are some based on if you're kind of looking for job costs, cost codes, that kind of thing. Another interesting one is the one grouped by GL, then cost type. Cost types are things like materials, labor, turnkey that you can set up. You can set up your own cost types and watch some information about that. But here's still that 1430 GL account. How much is in there for labor? How much is in there for materials? And you can do this same type of search if you're just looking at your actual cost database. But I'm just trying to show you how you can also get a bunch of stuff out of your accounting database. An interesting one is how much is paid for sales tax. CHS, when you're posting accounts payable bills, if you go ahead and put a sales tax amount on it based on the invoice gotten from that vendor, like this was stock building supply, if you use the features in CHS posting the bills, it might make 2 lines if you say there's sales tax. 1 line for the amount of the invoice, another line for sales tax marked with the cost type of sales tax. This is very handy if you're needing to get a report for, let's look at that for just a minute. Let's do a search. Maybe you just want to search for the cost type sales tax, and maybe you don't want to narrow this GL account down, so let's do no selection. Let's just look for everything that has a cost type of sales tax for this job. And this would be handy if your home buyer had asked you, they might come along, they're doing their tax return, and they might ask you for a report of all the sales tax you paid for their job costs. So you could do something like this real quickly. You could also do it from accounts payable ledgers and ask for a cost type of sales tax. Also from your actual job cost database, you could ask for a cost type of sales tax and probably get the same answer here of your accounting records that were marked with a cost type. You can see that here of sales tax. And then you could just give them a little report of that. You could just give them a general ledger of that if you like, so they can see that. Okay. That showed you some of the power of some of the searches. Notice that if I do clear search and I refresh, that means I'm going to bring back all of my accounting transactions to the screen, that 3,000, but if I do resubmit search, it'll bring back my last search that I did. Let's click the search button again, and let's clear search fields. And let's say, I don't know, maybe we were interested in just all records that were marked, and you would probably do a vendor ledger for this instead of accounting, but you can do this. Actually, if you look for a vendor, let's do Carson, and we submit a search. You can see all records in your accounting database that were marked for that vendor. In other words, apparently there was 1 check in the cash construction account in a bank account that was written to Carson. There's actually, you can see here that these 2 are prior period entries by the PP, by the way. So they just basically go in and out of this prior period cash account type thing, so you don't even see that here, but it's because it's just in and out. It's hard to explain, but CHS is handling, if you come forward, you put a balance forward in, but you have some job costs already, CHS is actually handling the accounting for putting those in and out, but this particular line, because it has a cost code, would end up showing up on a job cost report. A 0 means there really is no cost code, and when you do actual job cost reports, it looks for everything in your accounting database marked with a job code and a cost code other than 0. So in this case, the $250 and the $600 would show up on a job cost report. Now you can see where it was originally posted, this entry of $600 on February 14th, and that up here to 1430 when you posted the bill, but behind the scenes, CHS also posted a credit for that, and then when it was paid by the cash account and taken out of the cash account, CHS was lowering the accounts payable for that with this same quick manual check. Checks posted are actually posted to the journal called offset. And if you drill down, you can see the in and out. You can see both sides of those entries. The one to accounts payable that lowered it, the one to cash that also lowered cash. So that explains some of that a little bit and how I could just look for all transactions here for one vendor. If you do a vendor ledger in the accounts payable thing, you will see only the entries posted to the AP journal. So you get a little ledger that just has these 4 records over in vendor ledgers. So let's do another kind of search. Let me look here. I made a few notes about some things I ought to search for. Let me clear these search fields. Now remember what I just said about how actual job cost reports, subsidiary reports, that when you click on actual job cost databases over under the job section of CHS, they're based on all records posted to your accounting books with a job code and a cost code other than 0. So let's say you just wanted to reproduce that, even though CHS does it for you in the over there in the job cost database, but you just want to reproduce what CHS is doing just from your full accounting database. So if I do this job, H11 River, on the cost codes, you could go try to select a range of cost codes for everything except the 0 one, but that actually blows the program's mind, because then it's trying to say do a filter based on this one, then this one, then this one, then this one, then this one. So down underneath here, it says see search tips, but notice that you can use some symbols, and you could either do not equal to with an exclamation point equals. That's just lingo for the web and searching. So I could do not equal to 0 right here, or I could do greater than 0, a greater than sign, then 0, but maybe we're just thinking in our head we just want all cost codes not equal to 0. So we would submit this search. And if we happen to post any job cost to some other account besides 1430, let me scroll down till I see all of them, which it turns out we did. We put some insurance general liability, and we used a cost code, and we put it to this GL account and not the 1430 account. So this can also help you find, if you're trying to tie the 1430 account to your job cost reports, you might want to do a ledger like this. There's some other tools that I actually talk about how to tie job cost to accounting. But this kind of ledger would show you that there's $100 that's actually in the 8630 account. So your full job cost report, if I do a report here of these general ledger transactions, I've got costs of $222,837.50. And if I go over to jobs, and I just want actual cost database, that's a whole other section, and I ask for that H11 River. And if I just do a quick report, actual job cost report, $222,837. Now actual job cost reports are all grouped by cost code because it's a job cost report and are totaling it by cost code. If you look through it real slowly and started studying on the GL account used, 1430 was used for builder's risk insurance, 1430, But you can see all of a sudden there's a GL account 8630, which we saw over on our accounting transactions. So that's how that goes. But if you want on your own to search for just all the ones that would be costs, the other cool thing about that is maybe you posted something to the 1430 with a zero cost code and it was a job cost, and you're searching to see what you might have done where you accidentally didn't put a cost code, you used a zero cost code. You might be interested in searching that account to see if you did post any with a zero cost code. What did we narrow this down to? Could do this no selection, and I'm just wanting to look at 1430. Let's clear our search fields. Let's just do, oh, I forgot to clear out the not equal to zero, and then did a zero, so I didn't find anything. I was thinking there are some there. Direct construction costs, submit search. And these are okay. These are offset things for prior period entries that shouldn't have a cost code, and you can always call us to discuss that. But here's those plan costs again in the H job. McCoy's is sitting here in the 1430 account, zero cost code. So it can help you spot some things. Those went in and out and corrected themselves, except for that layer thing there. But you can see this is a user balance forward, has a zero cost code. Because what you do when you get CHS is you go put a balance forward for the job, maybe for your direct construction costs, and then you start making prior period entries so that one side of the entry will show up in job cost reports and the other side won't. Probably too much information there, but let me clear that search field. I think it helps to get some other information about that. Let's say you just wanted to see all transactions for the payer on your job. Our job has, actually the job is attached to a payer, the home buyer, Jack and Jill Brown. And let's just say I want to see all transactions I've posted. In other words, I probably see anything I've posted for monies they gave me or for any little accounts receivable invoices, and you can see that here. You can see where you did an accounts receivable invoice to them. You can see where they paid them because this is accounts receivable trade GL account. We also came forward with a down payment that's dated prior to when we started CHS, so that's showing up in the prior period cash account, which is actually a non-account that gets cleared. But anyway, we go down and we can see change order deposits from them. Could see where we actually lowered telephone expense because we charged the home buyer for it, and we lowered office supplies. And the other side of those entries, you can see those are in AR or the accounts receivable journal, and they're kind of showing up here. So that's one report that you could get and do your report, and you can see everything that you've posted for that particular payer. One other interesting one, and that I think you might want to look at, is if you clear your search fields, if you go post your own journal entries, the in and out entries that CHS isn't controlling, that gets posted to a journal called AJE for adjusting journal entries. And you might want to see all journal entries maybe that you made for one job or something that were posted to the adjusting journal entries that you posted yourself, that didn't come from an accounts payable check or deposit, that kind of thing. Then you can certainly find those, and you can see that we're posting some journal entries for percentage of completion for that job, for cost of goods sold, for job income recognized over to sales. And you can print a report of all of those to study on those if you're just wanting to see what has been posted as an adjusting journal entry for whatever. But a lot of times it might be for one job or for just journal entries in general. Let's do the search, clear our search fields. One other thing I think I'd like to show you is if you did the AP journal, and you just want to know how CHS is coming up with giving you ledgers of unpaid bills, I'm going to show you how you could actually reproduce that back here. So unpaid bills are, first of all, in the AP journal. Second of all, they either have a status of to pay or unpaid, and notice how it's doing a little comma there, which means it's going to search for either one of these in the AP journal. But the other thing you would need to know is that over here, if you did it right now, you'd just see all the in and out entries, which would come to 0, because you're also going to see the entries that went to the accounts payable, the offset entries CHS created. And you set up your accounts payable control account so that CHS knows which account to post your accounts payable to. And in our case, in our books, our control account is 2110. So what I could do is, I don't want the entries, the offset entries that got posted to accounts payable, so I can do the not equals to 2110. I don't want that account to be in my search. So if I submit this search, this is actually exactly how CHS searches for on its own behind the scenes. And let's do a report. And if you wanted, you could do it by vendor, so you could kind of get it grouped by GL account that they were posted to, and then by vendor. If you wanted to see all the original side, not the accounts payable side of the entries, you can see all of them, and you can see which vendor. And if you come down, this 96,756 46 should be the amount in your accounts payable unpaid bills that you've got out there. And if I close that, you can see that all of these don't have a paid date or a check number. You can kind of see that. If I go over to home, and if I go to the payables area, and maybe I'll just look at unpaid payables, and I just want to do a quick report of all unpaid payables today. And those are just grouped by, they're not grouped by general ledger. This is now a vendor ledger, but it should tie to those same records that I searched for in the accounting database. So you can see how you can use some powerful tools over here on the accounting transactions to just search for. And by the way, let's say we want to search for all records that are $101.66. Let's just do one more search, and let me clear this search. So if I did 101.66, or maybe my bank rec was off by that or something, I should do the one for looking for debit entry and the one looking for a credit entry, both sides. I cleared my search fields. We're only looking for records that have those amounts, so I submit the search. And you can see that there were only 2 records for exactly that amount, either plus or minus, so you could actually see both sides of an entry for that particular amount. Sometimes you won't have 2 sides for the same amount, like say there was a check written for $5,000, so you'll have an entry for $5,000 to cash minus $5,000, but it's made up of 4 records or something, so you won't necessarily see the same amount. You might see a group of amounts that total to the amount. But if you're searching because you're just trying to figure out why a bank rec is off, or just searching for some particular amount because it's weird to you or something, you can come to your accounting transactions database and do that. Let me go back here to the accounting ledgers menu. I'm going to come back. I really wanted to talk about the extensive search features and the resulting reports and general ledger reports that you can produce, and how powerful CHS is for you to just search for all kinds of things that you might want to look at. I want to talk also in the next videos about ledgers that have beginning and ending balances, and a little bit of a couple of these period ledgers that are like that. And also probably in the next, if you go back home and you go back to the accounting section, we need to talk about how there's a big monthly activity spread that you can drill down on for ledger numbers, or a spread from the year 2010 to 2019. So I will continue on with some videos. This, like I said, this video was meant especially to show you how powerful the search features in CHS are. and thank you for watching.